Hey, I'm back. And what we're going to do is I'm going to do a little tournament recap video. And it's probably not going to be like anyone you've ever seen. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on out there. And the only reason I know is because I've been watching live a little bit. I got out there on the water. I missed this tournament completely on Toledo Bend. But I'm going to pull up my graph and we're going to look at the places where I know where a lot of the guys are. You're seeing them on live, but I'm going to get into a little bit more in depth on the way the guys are fishing. And I'm going to tell you why I missed my fish too. And it should help you, when you're practice tournament for a fish or practice fishing for a tournament. So let's get into that. I'm going to pull the graph up and we're not really going to talk about baits. I'll talk about them a little bit, but, mostly what I'm going to show you is what these fish are doing and all this stuff combined together on why I messed up, didn't have a good tournament, finished like 65th here. And they're catching them the way I love to catch them and I missed the boat. So let's get into that. All right, guys. So first thing I want to talk about is we're here. It's February. And it's late February, but it's still early. Okay. And guys are catching them. The guys that are really doing well and they're catching the big ones, they're out there. They're out there in the main channels of some of these main creeks and they're deep. Some of them are up swimming a little higher in the column. Some of them are chasing shad. Some of them are just hanging out on the bottom, just mostly, eating shad, chilling, doing their wintertime stuff. But it's so tough because it's like 75 degrees today. Now, were there some guys that caught them shallow? A couple, but not in the top 10. I mean, it's going to be one deep. And what happened to me is I got lured into the warming trend and the full moon coming. And I did catch some fish shallow. I was catching them shallow. I went out there deep, couldn't get it done. Anyways, I'm not going to harp on none of that. I want to get into this on what is happening out there on the lake. Let's look at the graph. All right. So if you guys know, if you ever come down to Toledo Bend, this is where the tournament takes off from right here. This is Cypress Bend Park right here. Okay, I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to show you how massive this lake is first off, okay? I don't know why that big orange line is in the middle, but this lake is humongous, okay? Now, if takeoff is right here, this is the dam. This is no, that's not takeoff. Takeoff is just below. This was one of the creeks I fished here. But here's takeoff. So the way the lake shaked out in this tournament, we had some big rains before, and here's 3 Mile Bridge. And so upriver from here, there's a lot of good areas to fish. Any of these creeks are good. This has got grass in it. This is Blue Lake area. This is San Patricio Bay. It's got grass. There's grass and stuff up the lake up here, but we had a lot of rain and the water got muddy, and it just wasn't that good. So now, if we didn't have those rains, this stuff would have been great because there's some really good stuff up there. But I want to show you basically what kind of stuff the guys are fishing and where they're at. Okay, so if takeoff is right here, this is a very predominant lake. This is Howson Bay. Most of your top 10 guys over the past 2 days and some today, today's Saturday, so it's day 3. They're fishing around in here. I'm going to dig into that a little bit more. I don't know if there's any guys in 6 Mile or not. I'm sure there's some few guys in there. And then some of the, bouncing around to some of these creeks down towards the dam. Now, something about Toledo Bend is this whole side of the lake on the, which will be the west side of the lake, all these creeks, most of them have grass in them. Everything on the east side of the lake, on the Louisiana side, no grass. There might be some bank stuff up there a little bit, but the vast majority of hydrilla and stuff is in like this area of the lake down here. This is Howson and this is 6 Mile, which is pretty well known, common, like always is. Oh, my camera's wigging on me. But anyways, I want to look here and show you kind of what these guys are fishing. So if you notice in Howson Bay, you see this red area. You got this red area here. These are big flats, okay? This is a big flat in this creek right here. And there's these kind of shallower, greenier flats here. That's got a lot of timber on them. And it's not the real deep water like you see here. Okay, but it's got deep water close, which is super important. All right, so what you're having now is a lot of these fishermen are staging in the wintertime. So I'm going to zoom in here where most of the top 10 guys are fishing. And this is the main creek channel that goes into Howson Bay right here. And see all this flat water right here? This is where a lot of fish are going to spawn. There's a bunch of hydrilla and grass on it. And this is just, it's perfect. I mean, all this is perfect. It's got grass, bass there. That's, if there's one structure on a lake that you could pick where there's going to be all the fish, it's going to be in the grass places. This has got all grass. All these pockets got a little grass. I'll take this one, for example, here. Out here, so this is right here at the mouth of Howson. So out here, you've got timber and, you know, creek channel, the main creek channel, like this one right here. It kind of this is not the main creek channel. This is the main Howson creek channel. But this creek channel comes in and it runs back in here in this creek in Howson. And these fish are going to use this to get back in here to go spawn. So most of the shad in the wintertime, they're going to hang out here in the middle, and they're going to be deep, and they're going to be around the trees and the stumps and the main channel deep. They get in that kind of thermocline area down there. It's just where they're living. But a lot of fish, what you'll see is they'll be out here, and there was guys fishing. Guys in the top 10 were fishing out in this. They were fishing out in the middle, all the way back into here. I mean, you could work yourself out here in the middle around this creek channel all the way back and see big fish on livescope and catch them. And you've got grass all in here too. There could be some fish on the edge of the grass, but your vast majority of your big females, they are just out here. They're in their winter. They're doing their winter. Oh crap. No, that's not what I want. They're doing their winter thing. So like this area right here, I caught some fish yesterday in this area here, and, you know, got timber out here. These fish were kind of like swimming in, kind of heading this way, and I would pick them off as they was coming in. There just wasn't enough fish that were swimming in for here, but the vast majority of guys were out off of these flats in this main creek channel of Howson Bay. And those fish are just out there wintering, and very simple. That's what they're doing. They're just doing their thing. But what threw me for a loop here is it was warming, and we had a full moon too, and it was just so warm. The water temp was coming up slowly, and I thought there would be more fish going back in these, you know, further back in these drains and starting to pull up maybe on the outside edge of the grass line. And there are some fish on that stuff there, but just the vast majority of them are sitting out here deep, the big females, the ones you need to win a tournament. So Howson Bay was good. There's a lot of different, you know, you could see all this red, this whole area right here south of or north of Howson Bay. I mean, it's just got a bunch of flat area. It's got grass, the Indian Mounds region, any of this stuff, Jesse Low, all those creeks are good, just because they have really good spawning areas and they've got grass in them. 6 Mile. Phenomenal too. It's really good. You can tell it's got a lot of flats and flat water and stuff, and it's got grass, and another really great place to fish. You know, any of these flats, these are big red areas, but the lower end of this lake is really where it's been at. One most of the time is these two creeks, and it gets one in these others too, but there's just no grass over here, and there are big fish to get in those. But this is where it went down. This is where it's going down right now as I speak, in this area right here, all up in here and everywhere in here. This is where it's going down. So what I wanted to tell you guys is about, like, well, okay, so the fish are out there, like, how do you catch them? Well, you know, there's only really a handful of ways you can get it done. They're out there feeding on shad. Like, that's it. I mean, they're feeding on shad. They're looking up. It's that kind of that winter time, and they're hanging out underneath bait balls. Sometimes they're swimming around or above it, or you'll see fish that are just kind of swimming and heading in. But majority of them are down there deep, and they're sitting below those bait balls and stuff like that. And you got to get like a Demiki style rig down there. Various baits. I mean, you could do a spoon. I've seen guys win tournaments here throwing a spoon or a little jigging spoon or something down there on them. I tried everything I know to. The way we catch them back home in some of the deeper lakes, like the same deal. I mean, we catch them really deep in our lakes. And I just struggled to get it just happened that like I went in that area and I fished, and I just didn't have a good practice in there. So when that happens, I mean, what do you expect a guy to do? He just moves on. I mean, it's a vast place. There's so many places to check. I like to get off the beaten path. I like to get away from folks. And so I didn't really pick that area just because it just gets so hammered. But really, honestly, it's not a very good way to go about it. A lot of times those places are the best, and they're the best for a reason. I picked up the lake. I fished in Slaughter Creek, and it wasn't very good. I went in there and I caught some really big ones in practice, and I caught them out too, like on the points and stuff around that, and in some of the other creeks that were right there close. And I thought, there wouldn't be a lot of people there, and kind of directly on the other side of the lake. I just thought it would have less pressure, and up towards, let's see here, this area right here was really good. Not Patroon, I'm sorry. San Miguel, out there at the mouth of San Miguel, there's some good flats and some areas that are good. And it just didn't work out, I mean, it happens. You can't always be, find the winning fish and stuff. And it all is really based on your practice. You just don't know. You don't really know how you're going to do. And if you catch them, and I got lured into something else the first day. You guys probably watched me on live. It just didn't pan out, but, caught a lot of bucks. The bucks were, they were up there, moved in, and, I just couldn't get it done. But I was throwing a little jig head, hand poured jig head that I make, and I was throwing a shad style bait. There's a couple baits I throw. Berkeley makes that little bonga shad I like. I'll throw the flatworm on there, or not the flatworm, but the flat-nosed minnow. I like to keep the colors real, kind of natural shaded. This water had a little bit of a stain to it where I was fishing up there, but it wasn't bad. Looked pretty good. The other thing too, good knowledge to know is like, if a lot of these lakes down south, if they get hammered with wind in certain areas, the Florida strain bass, they don't like the wind. These are the bass that live in Florida. That come from Florida, and they tend not to bite when you get hammered with wind. And that first day of the tournament, that creek I was in was getting blasted. It was southwest rolling straight into Slaughter Creek, and it just wasn't a good move. And I should have known that, and I should have got out there. I just didn't think about it. I was like, I can stick around here. I'll catch me a couple, 4 or 5 pounders, and I'll have, I had almost 16 pounds pretty much. I catch me, 1 6-pounder. Shoot, that changed my whole tournament. I'm fishing today. So, just needed 20 pounds one day, but, it just didn't work out. But, that's fast fishing. But, thing to note is when the wind's really hammering in on certain places, you're not gonna, on these particular lakes, Florida strain lakes, it can really affect your fishing, and the fish don't like it sometimes. They just don't bite. It's kind of weird. You'll catch other fish for sure. The spotted bass love it and stuff, but a lot of times the Florida strain bass just don't really like that wind just getting hammered on them. Now, the fish that the guys are catching, they're out there in the middle. I was fishing more of the bank. I found that 15 to 10 foot on them stumps and shallow stuff, kind of like where the fish would be kind of pulling up the stage. There just wasn't enough there. There were bucks. A lot of 3-pound bucks, 2.5-pound bucks. And that's what I caught, and it sucks. I wish I was fishing today, but anyways, I want to give you a little recap of kind of how Toledo Bend went. And I know it's a lot of rambling and talking, but I wanted to show you guys on the map kind of where it's all going down at. And there'll be some guys move around. The shallow guys, man, some really good anglers. Even some guys like Kyle Welcher, Angler of the Year. I mean, I wouldn't have thought, he would have had a rough tournament like me, but he did. And that's just the reality of bass fishing. We can't catch them all the time, but, it was fun. It was kind of a headbanger, just kind of, it was tough. I just can't believe the fish didn't pull up to some of the areas I was fishing. They just weren't there. And it was not bad practice. Caught some fish. I thought, okay, we got something happening here. We got a warming trend. These fish are going to be coming in, but they just didn't do it. So, it's going to be one deep, 100%. Yeah, you might see a guy go shallow. I mean, it's almost 80 degrees today. But still chilly. That water down there deep is cold. And, it's not warming up enough for them fish to be pulling in yet. Next full moon, next full moon, good warming trend, like they're going to be getting on the bank. So we got the old stash cut, and, I think it's going to be good like a fork. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys. And hopefully we have a good recap of, Lake Fork, like a good one, like one I can talk about, show you baits, like, hey, this is what I caught them on. That's really all I threw, was a little jig head with the little shad bait on there. Vary up my sizes, if I'm fishing deep, put a heavier head on. If you're fishing shallow, keep it light. I told you guys that on YouTube. I mean, that's what I did. I know how to use it. I know how to use my forward-facing sonar really well. I've seen a lot of fish. I threw at so many big ones. They wouldn't touch it. They wouldn't touch it. I threw multiple baits. And a matter of fact, the big fish I caught yesterday, I caught it on a drop shot with a robo worm, and I was jiggling in front of his face while I was swimming, and it just kind of ate it. So, but anyway, fun derby. Sad, but we move on. We stay positive, and I'm very thankful to get to do what I do for a living. I love it, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you at Lake Fork.